that's hard to do.
Well, when Jesus is at the woman at the well, he said they'll worship me with spirit and truth.
Okay.
Okay? Sometimes the truth is I'm broke. I'm hurting.
Right.
Truth is I'm mad at you, God. I'm still coming to you, but I'm mad.
Right.
As a father, I would want my children to be truthful with me than just to always give me what I need to hear. Because number one, I can't fix it or get on a common ground with them and figure it out. And I think we have taught people to, come to church and look like everything's great. And if you look desperate, then, and me and you were talking about that earlier, if you look desperate, then that's not right. I think the church needs some people like the blind man that says, when they say, shh, no, listen, I'm desperate. I can't have this pass me by. And I think a lot of times we forget to be honest. And that's one thing I do daily. Because there's some days, you know what? I'm just brutally honest. God, I'm struggling today. I don't understand this one. I've done what, and give you a little. But when you read Psalms, isn't Psalms like, he's, God, why have you left me? Why? And then a few more verses later, but you're majestic. You're, that's honesty.
I see. I believe that. I used to tell people at the church, I said, when I only pastored one church because that was God called me to pastor one church. That was it.
Yeah.
No way. I wasn't what you call a pastor. I pastored one church and done the mission work and done all those things at the same time. But when God took me to the church that He took me to, I tried to get churches all over the place. I couldn't take a crowbar and get in a church. Then He took me to the church that I pastored, and I said, "Are you mad at me, God? Is there something I've done wrong I haven't repented for?"
Right.
But I began to go through things with Him in my life and say, but there was part of it was for me. I mean, it was a 120-year-old building, all the windows busted out, 4 foot of water in the basement, birds flying in and out. I mean, it was a mess. Okay, but I mean, there was a purpose and a reason. And I think about that so many times that there's a message I taught one time called being offended to reality. That there's things that God will tell you no about that you'll ask Him if you'll listen just a little bit. He'll
That's
say
an
no.
answered prayer, though, right?
Right.
No
Sure
is an answer.
Yeah.
A lot of times we've been trained that answered prayer is what we get what we want.
Yeah.
When I'd ask my dad or mom to go somewhere and they say no, they gave me an answer. It may not be the one I wanted, but they've answered all my requests that I've ever gave them. Even wait, not now, is an answer. And sometimes, like that, you get to the place where God puts you in a place and you're like, number one, I didn't ask for it. But this is what this is what life, but it's in those moments though, John. Listen, if it wasn't for those moments, the character of God would never get shaped in us.
Exactly.
It takes the uncomfortable parts of life to make us enjoy the comfort of God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've said before, your good times will make you lazy. Okay, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
They'll make you lazy. And I've said this when I was interviewing a young man the other day. I said, I think the devil has brought more people to church than most Christians. Okay? This is why. If the devil just leave you alone,
right,
you just go on your merry way right on to hell most of the time. Okay?
Right, yeah.
Or you just go on, you would never. But he wouldn't prick you, wouldn't do stuff to you.
Right.
If he wouldn't punch at you, and that's where it's so crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, there's things that if he wouldn't punch at you and do those things, you sort of would. I don't know. You would go on.
Well, there was a true story told about Alaska sending codfish throughout the United States because it was such a big deal and they had the best. Well, by the time the trucks brought it, they were dead. And they couldn't figure it out. We got the right water, the right oxygen, we're dead. And so they tried other things. Then they put catfish in with the cod. The catfish was an enemy to the codfish. You could come against it or, and it kept the codfish alive to swim and do all that, If it wasn't for the adversity, the codfish died, But because of the adversity, the hope of living and something to fight for was worth it. Not knowing they were going to be on a plate a little later. But at that moment, I'm not just going to give up to my adversary. That kept them moving. That kept everything flowing. And so sometimes it's those kind of things and that's where Joseph says, what you meant for evil turned out to be good.
I like it.
But you wouldn't know that unless there's some cat.
Okay. For example, I was teaching Sunday school one time in a church, a denominational church I'd have been with for years, and they got a new pastor. I had 35, 40 teenagers in my class, and I couldn't get that many people in the church when I pastored, but I had 35, 40 teenagers,
Yeah.
in my class. And I think I used to take them out to breakfast. I think that helped.
Yeah.
So, but I walked in one Sunday morning when a new pastor come, and he met me downstairs in the hallway. He said, "You John Dash?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "We don't need you here anymore." And he kicked me out. Okay. Well, so I said, "Okay." You know what I mean? And I left. And I wasn't really overly upset, but then I started evangelizing more, and I left and went to the mission field in 2 weeks.
Right.
But I mean, but I would have sit right there in that spot. And people kept asking me why I wasn't upset at him.
Right.
And I said, he didn't want to do that to me.
Right.
Okay? He didn't want to do that to me.
Right. Right. But again, you're not going to get much out of a comfortable person. Right. And we all love it. I mean, we all love it. Why do you think they every year come up with a new mattress, the sleep number, as a memory foam? Astronauts lay on it. I mean, we love comfort.
Yeah.
And we're addicted to comfort. Mm-hmm. And God's like, as long as you're comfortable, what are you going to do? Life has to get uncomfortable.
Yes, sir.
I don't like it when it is. I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, I'm so blessed to have it.
Right.
I'm not happy about it.
That's a real part.
But once again, it is good. The process happens. Mm-hmm. You go, gosh, I wouldn't be what I am today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would not be what I am today.
Yeah.
Without those kind of things happening. Mm-hmm. And that's not, like you said, that's not that guy's fault. It's not the person who hurt you.
He didn't want to do it.
No, right.